Who wants to do? Okay, so
You go. You start.
Sure. Hi, I'm Josh from Josh's Bookish Voyage.
Oh my gosh, are we really doing that? Okay,
yes.
Go ahead.
And this is
Erica from. Shit, what's my channel?
I'm not even joking. The Broken Spine, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay, start over.
No. We're here to talk to you about that one book that you saw in the title of this video,
The Year of the Witching.
The Year of the Witching,
by
Alexis Henderson. This is not a YA book. Oops, my bad. The first of a series about a young girl who was a part of a puritanical society, who realizes that she apparently has connections to some witchcraft thanks to her mother, and it starts to get blamed for these curses, these plagues that start to happen upon her town, presumably by the witches of the wood. It's very similar to the setup of The Witch, although the story is very different, but that general setup, the idea of evil witches in the wood and this puritanical society, is a good setup. Anything else you would add to that general synopsis?
No. I don't think so.
Do you have very spoilery thoughts for this sort of review?
But just know there may be spoilers.
Most of my thoughts are broad spoilers, but not like specific plot spoilers. And I guess so if you don't understand that, you can skip. Yep. So
yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Well, no, I mean, you still need to like the video.
Yeah, you gotta like the video.
And make sure it's playing in the background at least if you're not watching it. Okay, a question?
Yeah. Well, so just like, what did you think? What did you think of it? Just in general.
I thought it had so much potential. Even though she was trying to be an adult, she ended up resorting to, I felt like a very white, the author, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I felt like the author resorted to very young adult techniques in storytelling. She wanted to have a serious conversation about systemic problems, the patriarchy basically, and in this basically cult, and trying to reform it. But I don't think it was realistic, even by today's standards, let alone in this extreme cult standards. And that, I felt like, really hurt the book for me. Granted, I was hoping she would just break bad and kill everyone, like I said that to you, and like the witch, and she didn't do that. She did try to stick to the idea of everyone in the town being fundamentally good and worth saving. When that happened, of course, generally all of them accepted her because she saved them, even though I don't believe that that's realistic. I believe it's a short-sighted and convenient ending to this overarching theme that she wanted to explore. I mean, I think it's fine to want to explore redeeming a flawed system, but I think it was a little too easy for it to be a realistic and I guess profound one, in my opinion.
So, like, the way that I felt about it, I mean, I gave it like a solid 3.5. I think it has good bones, and I think Alexis Henderson is doing something. I think it's interesting. What I didn't like about it was like the cultish aspects, the prophet. I did feel like it was young. I don't know what that is. I felt like it was a little young, written a little young. And so the main character, Emmanuel, what is she, 16, 15, 16?
Honestly, I don't know.
Emmanuel was like, I don't know. I'm still struggling with Emmanuel's character, and I'm still struggling with like what was the prophet's son's name? I can't remember.
The love interest, I suppose. Yeah,
I am struggling with that whole thing, and it's been a couple weeks since I've read it, and I have to admit, it's kind of, what do you want? But it keeps like flying right here.
You must be curious. He wants to learn more about the book.
Okay, whatever. So make sure you cut that out. Yeah, the whole love interest thing just kind of seemed a little forced to me. And the witchcraft part, I was like, okay, what are we going to do here? And like you said, I kind of wanted her to just go all ass out and do what she needed to do.
Yeah.
And she didn't. I understand what she meant by, there are good people here. I think if you've grown up in a community and you've been indoctrinated, there is that. But the adults, and you know nothing outside of your wall, and literally they were walled in. So I have a problem with that. You have the adults in the community that are going along with it, and then you have Emmanuel, who is literally from the outside. Her father is from outside the wall, you know, and her grandmother Martha takes her in after her daughter Miriam dies, but she's still treated like an outsider. And you know, the prophet is constantly talking to her and having his eye on her and saying, oh, there are some people here that don't believe. It's not a safe space, for one, for her to even believe in what you're teaching. And then you have the prophet's son, whatever his name is, that is like, oh, I don't necessarily believe all the teachings.
Yeah,
but you grew up in
the
community, so how are you having this divergent
That's
thought?
why that just fed into my idea of how the book was so young adult or immature and not fully fleshed out, because of the fact that we have this character with this major power position who conveniently happens to challenge the beliefs in which he was raised around.
Right.
When you people, men will soak up what their fathers do. And it's just that convenient. And like, why isn't he just a pawn for his father? It's like in that book, the Children of Blood and Bone. Is that right? Like, at least there we have a son who is exactly what his father was, because that's what he was raised to be. Like, as bad as that book was, that was more believable. Wasn't there like a character?
Yeah, he was his father's son, but he also diverged.
Yes,
from
exactly.
That.
But there was a
But
path
I think
that was defined.
That was his defined path. But his mother also was like intervening and you know, things. But anyway, this is not what we're here to talk about.
No, but I just meant like that's an example of how you can have someone who comes from a very flawed origin, but we can justify his actions later on by setting up how he gets to this point, not just conveniently having him there where you need him for this point, the plot of the story.
Because I mean, there was really no setup for whatever his name is.
Yeah.
They were sitting, Emmanuel and Leah and whoever else, they were all sitting out, and after Sunday service or whatever, all of a sudden he just like starts laughing, like this maniacal kind of laugh, and I'm like, okay, well, what's up with that? So, but there was no setup as to like how he really diverged from the beliefs of of the community. And then somehow this brother, that he has a brother, which the brother is mentioned, and like after Emmanuel escapes outside of the city gates and the guy is taken back to the castle, wherever it is, taken back inside, and his holy dagger is taken, and it's discovered that his brother now has his holy dagger. So is this the brother that the prophet wanted to succeed him, but he couldn't succeed because of I mean, I know it's a minor point, but I think it's going to come back up in the second book.
I thought Apollo just wanted to maintain power indefinitely.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why he wanted to marry Emmanuel, because he knew, she's a witch, but she would give him power and maybe life, because he's dying. He would have the best of both worlds. He would have a witch that could give him and help him maintain power and order and eternal life.
I guess I didn't necessarily. Do you think that actually would have happened if they got married though? Like, I didn't get the. Do you think? I guess I didn't catch that. I guess I wasn't quite sure what it was about the marriage that was so important to him.
Say that one more time.
Say what again? Oh yeah, I guess I didn't catch that he actually thought he would get more life. I didn't quite understand how his marriage was that beneficial to him.
That's what I think. the reason why. And then like him saying, okay, he lied to both Emmanuel and his son, saying that he would free them both, which didn't surprise me that he lied. At the same time, I was like, you would really kill your own son. You know, and then I thought about it and I was like, well, of course he would kill his own son because his son is a threat. And if he allowed his son to stay alive after he helped a witch to try and get away, he would try something else. And he's literally a liability to him keeping power. And going against the teachings, the practice. I was just like, I can totally see him doing that and not even blinking about it.
Him being dark, like, that was obvious when I get go. It was so obvious how flawed the system was. That's why I sort of thought she was going to break bad. It was just, it seemed so glaringly obvious that I thought for sure she was setting up the utter destruction of the system, not the reform of the system.
But and then I think somewhere in the book, towards the end, they said something about, oh, we're never going to let this happen again. But yet, in the background, there are people in the community that are plotting. You know, well, what's going to happen in the next book? And that kind of has me intrigued, but at the same time, I'm not sure that I want to continue with the book.
I don't think I'm going to continue.
I get it.
I think I gave it 3 to 3.5 stars. It's just that after the way she handled this one, I'm not convinced that.
I mean, she's supposed to age her up, but I don't know how far. Because we'll just say she was 16. So, I mean, at 16, you're pretty angsty anyway. Like, so Emmanuel was obviously the darkest one in the community. Her people were outside. So she was raised fairly well. I mean, albeit poor. And her grandfather had his land taken away, divvied up. Compared to her relatives outside the gate, she lived fairly well because they were like, they were literally beggars. Emmanuel wasn't far from it, but, you know, she was much better off. I found that interesting, how in this community of lighter skinned people, they never exactly, or Alexis Henderson never specifically said that they were white or whether or not they were just light skinned. But it's obvious that they were light skinned. I think she commented that some of them even had blonde hair. And then I wondered why she made it that way. The darker skinned people on the outside, they were othered. She was othered. Am I making sense?
Yes, you are. That's part of the book I didn't really notice much of. It's just, I felt bad. Honestly, I got worked up. A lot of my attention was focused on the religion side of it.
I mean, I saw that religion, that hit me like a ton of freaking bricks. I was like, okay, Emmanuel, she's a shepherdess, so she's bringing her flock to whatever. There was just so much. Yeah. I feel like part of it was, I think Alexis Henderson used it to get the point across about the dangers of religion and following blindly.
But I feel like simultaneously she wanted to criticize religion while being, I think, it's still a little too fond of it, in my opinion.
Exactly. And the prophet, I wanted to take him out.
The fact that he didn't die.
Yes.
I thought for sure he was going to die. And then they ended up killing some secondary prophet or whatever the guy, priest or whatever he was, by the witches.
Yeah. Like, and he's over there cowering in the corner. Like, wait a minute. How does he survive? Yeah. But her grandfather, Abram, whatever his name is, Abram, and the other priest that beat Emmanuel when she was in the catacombs, you know, they both die. But he survives. I mean, what was the purpose of him surviving?
I have a feeling he's needed for a good plot in the next book.
I believe so. Because in there, they said that they have like people that are against them. But he's dying. They're supposedly preparing for his death.
Maybe he'll be dead in the next book, but if she's aging up, he can't still be alive then.
He could be.
Because even that'd be even worse though if he died in between books. That's just horrible. It's a horrible way of doing it.
But I mean, he could still be alive.
I guess he wasn't that close to death then. All that talk
But-
about him being close to death.
I mean, and him spitting up blood.
Yeah.
But
Whatever that is.
evil lingers.
I don't know. I feel like it's very convenient to the story if it's years later. And the entire plot point of the first book, this is undercut entirely.
I don't know. We're hypothesizing about a book that doesn't come out for a while.
I felt like the religion goes beyond that community, right? There were others. He was the leader for their community, but he wasn't just the Pope, was
Oh, like the Pope. Actually, when I was reading it, I kind of thought of him as being like the Pope. But I don't know.
I don't remember where it was. I just thought I had an impression that he was one of several community leaders.
Well, I mean, I think everyone had their own
System?
Yeah,
Okay,
and
yeah.
I think that this particular system was perhaps the most strict and the most fundamentalist. Because
Yeah.
when Emmanuel went into the city and she was like meeting with her relatives or who she thought was her relatives, their religion similarly, but
Yeah.
was not as strict.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they treated women were very different.
Mm-hmm.
There is that dichotomy between the same religion, but how it was how it was structured.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what Alexis Henderson was trying to get at.
Mhm.
That religion
Yeah.
is the same basic structure,
I guess that
but or principles.
Yeah. I didn't really catch on to that much, I guess. And I guess it also makes, with that in mind, it does, I think, make it easy to swallow that maybe their community might be more inclined to believe in the stuff that other people do in that society, even if they're outside their society. I don't know.
It was very cultish, like I said earlier, and I can only imagine that level of brainwashing. Religion has always been used as a punishment, as a, what's the word that I'm looking for? Control. It's always been used for those purposes. And it's always been used to look down on people that you don't think are worthy. It's always been something that has othered people that are not like you, that don't follow the same beliefs as you do. And that's not what religion is supposed to be. And it ends up being a very hateful thing, and the exact opposite of what you claim you believe. And I thought about when they were doing their sacrifices and stuff like that, like they literally abandoned Emmanuel's family, which is not what you do if you are really and truly believing. You take them in and you take care of them, but they literally left them out there to die. It was a complete sham. If we're being honest, it was a sham.
That's most religion.
Like, what do you do? And I understand, like, she wants to rebuild the community because everybody is not bad, because everybody isn't bad. You still have the young kids that are growing up that haven't been totally indoctrinated and formed and things like that. I understand her wanting to, like, make a change. I get that. But at the same time, you do have the elders that are so deeply rooted, and they're not going to change.
Yeah, and I thought it was naive of her to think that the way she trusted her aunt or mother, whoever she was, the person who looked after her growing up.
Martha.
Yeah, that just seemed very naive.
Well, she was very naive. And I think that comes from, I mean, she's only 16. She lives in an insular community. What we see on the outside is like, girl, the hell is wrong with you? We see the issues. We see that this is not a good idea. And she goes and does it anyway. And it's like, it's okay because she's learning. She's growing.
Yeah. see, you looked at it as her making bad decisions. I looked at it as the writer making bad decisions for her. Maybe it's not quite fair.
I see that.
I am curious now what she'll be like if she's older in the next book.
I mean, she's been through a lot. She's experienced a lot. So in theory, she should have grown.
And how that translates to the story is the question.
She asked the question about if you ever feel like things have changed, but you've stayed the same. I can't remember, but that is really kind of significant because you go through a lot over your life, and you're like, I've changed, and then you meet up with someone from childhood, and they're the same jackasses that they were when you were a kid. Yeah, it's a question. Like, will our circumstances, will events in our lives change us? And how much will they change us? Do they change us for the better or not?
Yeah.
I think that's something that they're going to be wrestling with, maybe at the beginning of the next book, but who knows? It's just interesting. And then I liked how Emmanuel is such a feminist. Are you cold there, babe?
Don't laugh at me.
I'm asking a question.
Just a thin jackass. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I mean, it was just like, you're like, oh.
Because it was very cold.
I forgot what I was saying.
Change. Everything they touch, they change. Everything they touches them, changes them.
Did I say that?
No, that was activity butler.
Oh, also, just how long is this supposed to be? Is it unlimited? Infinite time is fine?
All video, so we're taking 2 hours. So
No, we're not doing 2 hours.
I honestly, I was hoping to we could work our way towards the conclusion.
But you got to keep the shutter moving.
Sure.
I forgot what I was saying.
Will they show them changing in the next book?
Yeah.
I hope not. I think it'd be more realistic if they don't change. I hope Martha turns her in again, or Martha turns against her, puts her on a stake, and then she breaks bad and kills everyone. It's not gonna happen. But
oh my god! Like you're gonna see this whole like bolt of lightning. Like,
I was
swing
thinking
out.
more like just a lot of blood and
blood,
gore.
like they explode or something.
That would work for me.
Okay.
Snap and then blow up.
Okay. I don't know. I liked that Alexis Henderson put in the amount of feminism that she put in. I really liked that, and I liked that Emmanuel asked her friend Leah when she was like, "Are you happy?" And Leah's like, "Oh, well, he calls me basically every night," and I'm like, "Ugh." One thing, that's disgusting. And she's like, "But are you happy?" And Leah's like, "I'm happy if he's happy." No. I'm not asking you if you're happy because he's happy. I'm asking you if you're happy.
Yeah.
If you are happy. And I like that she was just very in tune that my happiness is not relegated to a man's happiness. And that I have autonomy. And she even said it. You know, my body is my body.
I appreciated all of that being included. I have a problem with it all because maybe this is my own limited perspective, but it all seemed she was a little too in tuned with these forward way of thinking for someone raised in this kind of puritanical society. That's one of the many other ways in which we get brought out of it. Not that I don't think it should be there, it's just the way she's able to inherently challenge these things that have been pushed in her mind for so long. It just seems a little, I want to say convenient, but it does sort of take us out of this so-called puritanical setting that we're in. And I think that's a hard thing to do, hard to make something that is both realistic from the setting, but also as forward-thinking as you want it to be. I'm not sure if there is an easy way to do that. But.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I thought it was kind of appropriate, yeah, because of her mother.
Yeah.
Because her mother railed against that as well.
Yeah.
And she did the curses, and she loved unconditionally. So I think that was a trait from her mother. So that's where I think that came from. I got the impression that her mother didn't fully buy into it.
Yeah, and her mother made the right decision and tried to burn it all down. And then she went against her mother's own wishes.
Well, I mean, the hounds of hell came. It did happen.
Yeah, talking about feminism, let's talk about the fact that even to the very end, the mother is inherently evil. There's no going around that. He kept the mother as evil, and that is, I was
You
so
talking about
hope-
Martha?
No, not that mother. The mother. You have the father and the mother.
Oh, the mother.
Mother being the witch.
Okay.
This figure, Lilith, I guess. She is inherently evil, and I was hoping they would lean into the fact that the mother isn't inherently evil. You just portrayed her as such, and I hate that it sort of maintained that perspective.
But it did say that the witches, when they came out of the woods, that wasn't what they were there for. They were there to append this patriarchal society,
Yeah.
which they did, and then it became a matriarchal society, and the men bandied together and didn't like it, and then you have I don't know, Captain John Smith, I don't know what his name is, that came in and then put them on the stake, and killing young girls and people that he thought were witches, and they weren't. I mean, it was like, I think they wanted a more equal society, and in order to get that more equal society, they had to append it. And then when they realized what was going on, they were like, oh hell no, we're not changing, and we have to get rid of you. So I think that's how the evil, because they were portrayed that way. I mean, anytime you portray somebody as being evil, and the things come down.
And I guess that's what I was getting at. That's what I was taking from it. I mean, until the point that when she chooses not to join the witches, like, it's because of the witches are inherently evil. Like, as if she has decided that it's not just that they were being portrayed that way; they are that way. They are not. I guess if I were to make it akin to Ring Shout, basically embrace the hate, and thus making themselves evil. And while I see how that sort of all ties in, I guess I still thought the overall message was that they took the path of evil, whatever, just because they chose to fight back.
I get that. I mean, if you were burned at the stake and you had an opportunity to come back, would you not?
Yeah, yes, maybe. Yeah, so, any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts? I think no.
Okay then. Okay, thank you. You've been watching Josh Speaker's Footage. Sorry, that's such a weird thing. Thank you, Erica, so much for joining me on my channel with your phone. As always, I hope you all stay safe. And before I say that, though, make sure you check out Erica's channel and watch all the content. And as always, have a great day and goodbye.
Bye.